Hi, this is Mato. In this video, I will show you the game between Bobby Fischer and Mikhail Tal. This is the game from Candidates Tournament that was played in Bled in 1959. And where is Bled? Bled is a town in Slovenia. In this game, Bobby Fischer had white pieces and he started with e4. Tal played c5, a Sicilian defense. Knight to f3, d6, d4, c takes on d4. Knight takes on d4, knight to f6, attacking the pawn on e4. Defending, and Tal played a6, Najdorf variation of Sicilian defense. Bishop to c4, e6, and we have transposition to Scheveningen variation of Sicilian defense. b5 is coming, so Fischer played bishop to b3. b5, it is white move. Black is threatening b4, winning the pawn on e4. If Fischer wanted to defend the pawn, he could have played bishop to g5, pinning the knight and saving the pawn. Instead, Fischer played f4, challenging Tal to go for the pawn, and Tal did. b4, and the defender of e4 must move. Knight takes on e4, and Fischer castled kingside. Tal is a pawn up, but behind in development. Tal only developed his knight, and Fischer 4 of his pieces, and white king is safe. Can Tal survive? The game continued. g6, f5. Fischer is not wasting any time. Pawn takes pawn. It is white to move. Any ideas? How should the white continue? This is what Fischer played. Knight takes on f5. How should black continue? Should black take the knight or not? Would you? Tal played rook to g8. If pawn takes knight, then queen to d5 is winning. The threat is checkmate, and after a sensible move like queen to c7, queen takes rook. If bishop to b7, then queen to a7, and after knight to c6, queen to b6, and white should be winning. So in the game we have rook to g8, white to move. How should white continue? Another very interesting move. Bishop to d5, forking the knight and the rook. Of course, the bishop can be captured. Should black capture the bishop or play something else? What would you do? Tal played rook to a7. Let's take it back. If pawn takes bishop, then queen takes on d5, and after bishop takes knight, rook takes on f5, and white has a winning attack. That is why Tal played rook to a7. Bishop takes knight. Pawn takes knight. Bishop takes pawn on f5. Rook to e7. Bishop takes bishop. Queen takes bishop. Fischer played bishop to f4, developing the bishop and attacking the pawn on d6. How should black continue? Can black defend the pawn? They say that the attack is the best defense. Tal played queen to c6, and now bishop takes or queen takes on d6 doesn't work, does it? Because of queen takes on g2, checkmate. Okay, so we have queen to c6, it is white to move. Now Fischer made a very interesting decision. He decided to sacrifice the knight on a4 for the attack. He played queen to f3. Queen takes knight. Bishop takes on d6. Is Tal in trouble? The threat is bishop takes rook, and the other one is bishop takes knight. If, for example, rook to d7 is played, then check, and after king to d8, check, and after bishop to e7, rook takes on e7, and white is winning. How should black defend then? Tal again found the best defense. Queen to c6. Bishop takes knight. Black to move. What would you do? Queen to b6, check, forking the king and the bishop. King to h1. Queen takes bishop. It is white to move. It is Fischer to move. On his scoring sheet, Fischer wrote rook from a to e1, and then he observed Tal. Tal later said that he feared this move the most, but with his body language he didn't want to show it. Tal pretended that he was happy to see this move. And what Fischer did? He didn't play the move. Instead of the best move, analysis showed later that rook from a to e1 was the best move. Fischer instead played queen to c6, check. Rook to d7 was played. Rook from a to e1, check. Bishop to e7. White to move. How should white continue to attack? Maybe queen to f6. Fischer captured the pawn on f7 with rook. Fischer is throwing everything on Tal. People observing the game fear that Fischer will go to the kitchen and return with the kitchen sink to whack Tal over the head with it. Just kidding. Okay, the game continued. King takes on f7. Check. King to f8. Queen takes rook. The dust has settled a little bit, and Fischer is running out of his soldiers to sacrifice. We must agree that the greatest attacking grandmaster Tal didn't have much chance to attack, did he? But he was defending extremely well. Tal played queen to d6. Obviously he wants to exchange queens. Queen to b7, rook to g6, c3, a5, queen to c8, check, king to g7, queen to c4, bishop to d8. Perhaps the idea is to play bishop to c7 and to deliver checkmate on h2. Pawn takes pawn. Pawn takes pawn. If bishop to c7, then perhaps queen to h4 and then pawn takes pawn. In the game we have a takes on b4. Fischer played g3. Black to move. What would you do? Queen to c6. Simple and the best. With queens off the board, the game will be much easier to play for black. Rook to e4, queen takes queen, rook takes queen, rook to b6. Black has a winning endgame, but player with white pieces is the greatest player of all time, so you can't be sure if black can win. Would you be able to win as black from this position? You can test your chess skills against the engine. There is a link for this exercise provided in the text below the video. Okay, the game continued. King to g2, king to f6. Both players are centralizing their kings. King to e3, check. King to e2, king to d5, attacking the rook. King to d3, bishop to f6, attacking the pawn on b2. Instead of pushing the pawn to b3, we have a rook to c2, bishop to e5, rook to e2, rook to f6, rook to c2, rook to f3, check, king to e2, rook to f7. Tal is not rushing with attack. King to d3, bishop to d4, a3, to take or to push. Tal played b3, attacking the rook. Rook to c8. White is lost. If, for example, rook to g2 was played, staying on the second rank with the rook, then rook to f1, and after say a4 or h3, then rook to b1 is winning. We have a rook to c8. Bishop takes pawn on b2, and black has dangerous passed pawn now. Check. King to c6, rook to b8. How to defend the pawn? What would you do? Tal played rook to f3, check. King to c4, check. King to b4. King to c7, attacking the rook. Rook to b5. How would you continue if you had black pieces? Bishop to a1 was played, making the room for the pawn. a4. It is black to move. Black played a move and white resigned. What is the move? The move is pawn takes pawn on a4. Just kidding, this is an illegal move. Pawns can't go backwards. b2 was played, and Fischer resigned in view of this continuation. King to a5, then rook to c1, a random move, pawn is pushed and promoted to queen. After rook takes queen, rook takes rook. What a game. Tal was defending well, didn't he? If you were shown this game and didn't know who was white and who was black, would you guess that Tal was black in this game? Usually it is Tal who sacrifices pieces, left, right and center. Some people once say that Tal in one game sacrificed 9 pawns for the attack. But I think this is probably an exaggeration. But yes, in his games, Tal was sacrificing pawns, queens, bishops, horses, chariots, and sometimes even his own king, just to get his opponent's king. In this game, he didn't display his usual style, but he played the moves which position requested, and he was finding the best moves. And one more thing, if you think that Kasparov is the best player of all time, it is okay. There are some people in Norway who believe that Magnus Carlsen is the best player of all time, and they are allowed to their opinion. They may be right. And who do I think is the best player of all time? Would you like to know? I think that Fischer and Kasparov are the best players of all time. Could you beat Fischer from this position as black? Could you beat Talminator? The link for this exercise is provided in the text below for the video. Feel free to test your endgame skills and let us know how did you go. And that is all. I wish you good luck with your chess, and also I wish you happy and prosperous New Year. Bye for now.